Can we charge that truck there any way, shape, or form? Like, can we put an inverter there or anything?
It's not gonna work.
No.
Today, we're in Northampton, Massachusetts, visiting Cyrus from Eco Valley Lawn Care. Cyrus made over $400,000 in annual revenue last year. However, he had as many as 12 employees at the same time, telling me that his prices are far too low.
Scared to shoot myself in the foot, raising prices too much for our customers that give us that, good lifetime value of all 3-4 services that we offer through the year. We can't say, this is gonna be $500 to see or Miss Jones, but then it ends up being $1,000 worth of work.
Revenue drops between 80 and 90% during the off season.
I've lived off 25K for like every year I can remember since college. Doing that comfortably, once we have a kid in the mix, I would say probably closer to 40 or 50 would be the
Let's
goal.
go with 50.
Cyrus and his wife want to start a family, but money is too tight.
To go all in on this from a business perspective is still nerve-wracking.
My name is Mike Gandes. I'm the founder of Augusta Lawn Care, where we have over 170 locations around the world. I travel around the country fixing struggling businesses. Our goal is to give Cyrus a strategy to turn around the business in the next 6 weeks and get it back on track.
I'm like, this company will lose money hand over fist.
What's up, Cyrus?
What's going on?
Not much, man.
The myth, the mensch, the legend.
The mensch.
How you
Good
doing?
to see you, man.
Good to see
This
you.
is the,
Yeah, this is the spot. So we acquired this about a year ago, this
Okay.
property.
oh, nice. The whole place?
The whole place, yeah.
How big is it? Like 2 acres?
4 acres. So we
Oh,
got a
nice.
lot of land, heavily wooded.
Okay.
For the majority. There's only about an acre cleared. We started in Hadley out of a rental property in a garage about this size, one half of it, and the other
Okay.
half was another apartment. We got the boot from there, they sold it. This was kind of like a silver lining. We were like scrambling to find a place. We had a rental property already, but then we had no place to live, and we were like, let's see if we can find something that might have some business potential to it. It's not zoned for business use, but we have one farmer over there who, is already making a ruckus and has a couple tractors and machines.
Right,
so,
so you're not
and then
gonna
a big
work, yeah.
quarry company over there.
Oh, cool.
So
That works.
we've been rolling now for about 4 years. We're going into our 4th spring season. So 4th full year. We started in the fall of 2021, so it's gonna be 4 and change pretty soon. It's been quite a ride.
Do the guys show up here in the morning or that's
Not yet. So now that we own this truck and we don't have the capacity to charge it at our rental space,
Okay.
we have to start going from 2 spots because this is going to be our main mow vehicle and also a spring cleanup and fall cleanup trailer. That's what we bought it for, the electric truck. Starting this year, after spring cleanups, we'll start having a mow crew, at least one leave from here. So that's what's got me kind of anxious about splitting myself between 2 locations. But for the spring, we're gonna be cruising in from here to Hadley together, get full team meetings going, make sure everybody's on the same page. All the tools will be over there. I'm starting to think about setting this up for service. I got a dozen tools to unbox. My guys will be coming to help me here.
So do you think you'll kind of like build this into 2 different shop spaces eventually?
That's what I wanted to ask you about, right?
Okay.
I mean, I don't want to jump ahead of myself since I don't have a good hierarchy in place right now with lots of long-term employees, but I do have a pretty responsible new staff, that I think could handle one crew coming here, meeting them and staggering, leaving from here, going from Hadley. That's what we're gonna have to do at some point probably if we want to keep this truck and try and eventually get 2 locations. Doing that 800K mark would be the end goal, but that's definitely like more of a medium term, especially with the investment of all the electric equipment. To get started, I had 30K scrapped together saved to start this. We were running it out of our rental property. That was enough for a truck, the first utility trailer, and then we started off with 1 residential mower, this 52 here. It comes with 6 batteries and it's out the door for $6,500.
Oh, really?
Yep.
That's not bad.
It does not
With the batteries?
It does not get you through a full day of service with even 8 lawns. So then what happens is we started investing in some other things called these battery banks here. So at the shop, we have a little battery shed that houses all of our consumer grade Ego equipment. So those are all of our string trimmers, blowers, as well as 0-turn mowers all run on those same battery systems. I nicknamed them our 110-pound jerry cans because they are literally like close to 100 pounds.
So that basically is like a backup.
They're a Goal Zero battery bank designed for camper van life, but they're the most robust and feasible option I could find to supplement those out on the road. Overnight, you can get 70 on one outlet and then really scale that. The battery charging is there, but the equipment that we use with those sort of batteries isn't quite up to the professional standard we're looking for, so it makes you wonder, you know, is it worth investing?
I have nothing inherently wrong with being electric. It's just a function of, like, does it make you more money? Like, it just adds another variable to the business that makes it tough. Like, it's hard enough running a business.
It's tough to get the infrastructure right with the batteries. There's so many different avenues you can go, and with our limited amount of space, you know, we've made it work so far, but who knows what the future holds.
So how long would it take for this to charge the smaller mower?
About 4 hours for a full charge. The only problem with this whole setup is these cost $6,000.
What? This costs $6,000?
$4,000 on sale. I've only bought them on sale. You get this, the charge and discharge cycles are only meant to be about 2,000, so they're not meant for the wear and tear we put them through. So they've been lasting me less than a year.
Oh, mercy.
So that is not,
mercy.
Yeah, I mean, about a year to 2 years if I'm lucky, some of them less than a year. This is the consequence of early electric adoption on the cheap, right? If you can't have your battery built into the mower, or you can't have electric trucks or trailers that have some kind of supercharger attached with like all the infrastructure built out for hundreds of thousands, this is what you're dealing with. But my game plan potentially is to move away from these mowers completely, because just like these aren't designed for the wear and tear we're putting them through, neither are these. They're prosumer grade at best, right?
That's falling off.
This thing already has some kind of electrical thing that's causing the left wheel not to spin. So we have one working we have one working 42.
The actual function of the mower doesn't change a whole lot. It is literally just how to feel it. And the electric mowers I really like them, especially the zero turns. And the can equipment, I like them a lot.
I actually like that better, honestly, than gasoline. Even though you have to swap batteries, it's just more beneficial. It's easier on everybody. I mean, you're still gonna get noise, but it's still a lot quieter than something, you know, gasoline powered.
This is the first electric truck.
This is the first and only electric truck. This is probably the first and only, you know, new truck that I'll ever buy. I never thought in a million years, personally or for the business purposes, I would. But when we started having charging issues with the smaller batteries, plus needed one more vehicle, I said, if you can kill two birds with one stone for 70 grand, that's a little different than just having a mode of transportation, because it's got the 120 volt outlets out the back.
So does this charge throughout the day, like trickle
it's got a 90 kilowatt hour battery in it. So for all of our smaller, like Ego batteries and things for the blowers, weed whackers, in the consumer grade mowers, we can plug them right in right there.
Got it.
And then things stay juiced up for the whole day, and then we just have one thing that's getting plugged in instead of schlepping battery banks around. So it's something we're looking to try. We went all in on this, and hopefully it works out pretty good. This season will really tell whether it's really necessary or if it's just to walk the walk and, you know, to show off for the customers that we really do want to be fully electric to the extent possible.
It's just a function of, like, there is serious range anxiety, especially when you can only charge your truck at your house. So that becomes an artificial cap to growth. So if you wonder, why is it that every massive landscaping company does not adopt electric? Because they can't figure out how to scale it. They would throw in like the Ego batteries like in the back of the truck, charge those throughout the day in a bank while they're doing their other stuff.
Yeah, this is the bank, exactly. So like for fall cleanup, the battery drain is massive, because those things, like, you get like 40 minutes out of commercial, you know, 2 battery backpack, and then you're swapping them
Even
out.
the backpacks?
Even the backpacks, and so the biggest batteries they make, and Ego makes the biggest one. They last maybe 40 minutes to an hour, and then the half-life of them as they get older, they last 6-7 years, but you better believe, like, every 20 minutes you're running back to the truck to swap. This simplifies that and allows us to get away from the battery bank usage.
You're basically trying to cut out the $6,000 battery
that fail
luggage.
Within 2 years. Yeah, because I mean, that's just not sustainable. They're not rugged enough. Nothing on the market is as rugged as that, yet they fail within a year or two, which is unacceptable. It's not a year or two's worth of gas.
That can pay for the payment on this thing.
Yeah.
$500 a month.
Exactly, right.
So, what's this, like $700-800 a month for this?
Right around 900.
Okay.
Yep.
The hope is that we can cut out the battery banks.
Yep.
We can charge on the road.
Exactly.
Not have to worry about schlepping those things around.
Yep.
It doesn't matter, like, does the customer care enough to pay more?
Right.
And that's the part where, like, it's just unproven. I don't know.
It's always scary, right? And it's the jury's out on whether it really does make good economic sense, because, you know, I thought it was more like 50 to 70% of the people probably care, and they do, about the environmental and quiet aspect, but maybe it's only closer to 10% who care enough to reach in and go, you know, deeper into their pocketbook to pay what we require in order to to finance those higher upfront costs.
On the electric thing, is that like more of a personal thing? Is it like you use that for marketing?
I think a bit of both. I came
Okay.
from, Pedal People Cooperative. That's what got me into the whole like home service business mindset. They had essentially a trash recycling and compost hauling business. Everything's done by bike and trailer. It's true zero emission, not low emission or no.
Yeah, let's
So
go.
it was crazy.
That's the way.
Hauling 500 pounds around on like 12 totes on a bike trailer to the local recycling facilities.
Like the Rio mowers.
Yep. So they had a yard care unit, and that's how I got started. I would like
Really?
haul trash for 6 hours, take a nap in Dunkin' Donuts, and then go mow lawns until the sun came down with them.
Wow.
And since it was a worker-owner co-op, they gave 66% was back to the employees and only 33% for overhead and admin, because they store all their trailers at their customers' houses. They have no central location except for the founders' duplex. They are scrappy as all get out. 25 years they've been in business. They have over 1,000 customers.
It came with its plus and minuses. I really enjoyed being a part of something like that and seeing what was possible from some scrappy individuals who, come together and say, look, you don't need to even utilize fossil fuels to run a trash company successfully, depending on what your definition of success is, right? No one's getting rich, but they're definitely giving themselves a pretty decent hourly wage. They're able to work, 20, 25, 30 hours a week and not have to have so much overcommitment to work, and they do a lot for the community too. So it was a really cool thing to be a part of.
So at this point, I feel like we're too deep in it to go back. I can't say whether I would have done it any differently, because I've never started a gas company and seen how fast you can grow that with how little headache. It's allowed us to grow pretty quickly, I think, and the jury's still out on how much more people are willing to pay, right around 10, 20, maybe up to 50% in some cases of people who are really aligned, with paying a premium for that. But that's certainly like our biggest unique selling proposition.
Very rarely is a customer willing to pay $1 more for electric compared to gas, because they are paying for grass to be short, bushes to be trimmed, mulch to be installed. That's all they care about. And so if we can't make it an actual cost advantage, it doesn't really make sense from a financial perspective, unless we have a big reason, like it's our reason for living is to not have gas equipment. Then we have electric. Yeah, like the challenge I see is like just the scaling part of it. Like even right now, it's like bring the truck back here to charge. We run out of batteries. Like it becomes very difficult to scale. And I think that's why I see a lot of the electric guys still being solo, maybe one helper, like the smaller. So like it's like, which one do you want? Like, do you want to scale, or do we want to stay like 1, 2, 3 employees, a couple trucks? Like what do we want?
No, I mean, we're already way past that.
Right.
My first season, it was 1, 2, 3 employees. The second season, it was like 4 or 5. We really need 6 to 8 at a minimum. And then for snow removal, double that. So we're past that. I think it's possible to get to an 800K mark, which isn't massive scale, right? Like it can be done using electric equipment. I just gotta figure out the best way and how fast-paced that can actually happen without going broke.
So it's been like almost a year you've been here then?
Yep, 1 year exactly in
That's
March.
awesome.
Yep.
Good stuff. And then is your wife helping the business, or she?
Nope, she's got her own thing going. Oh, here's our cat.
So 2023 was 325 approximately.
Yeah.
Then 2024, last year's 400, a little over 400,000.
Yep.
For this year, you shooting for like basically 500,000, like kind of your goal?
Probably closer to 600. I mean, 150 a year is a comfortable growth rate for me because I've done it every single year since inception in 2021. Our first year we did 150, then we did 312. Then last year I was hoping for 500, but we had all these setbacks with employees either having to be let go or getting injured. And we stayed right around 412, 450. This year, I think easily, granted we have another truck, we're gonna get another mower and we have a more experienced crew and we have that many more, clients. Now, the way I'm treating this from an accounting perspective in this property is the mortgage is $2,600. We're paying $3,000 total between my wife and I. The business pays $1,000, I pay $1,000, and then she pays the other $1,000. I'm treating that as rent on the balance sheet though, because technically it's not a commercial property. It's never gonna have any worth on the balance sheet itself. So it's just, I'm renting to myself for $1,000 a month. So all in, we're like $1,800.
There's only 4 real reasons why your business stops growing, and I call it the 4L framework. It's either because of liquidity, leads, labor, or leadership. And when you first get your business started, you need liquidity, you need cash, and you turn that liquidity into leads. How? By advertising. And then once you get a bunch of leads, you get a bunch of customers, what do you need? Labor, because we're in the home service industry, we gotta actually go do the work. And once you get a bunch of laborers, You need leadership to be able to run the business and be able to run it when you're not even there.
We have liquidity here. Like right now, I know you had mentioned you and your wife kind of wanting to have, start a family, thing like that. Right now we have like 20,000 in the bank.
Yep.
What does that need to be for you to like, okay, from a liquidity perspective, cash flow perspective, I feel comfortable to like move that personal goal forward. What's the goal on that?
Right. Yeah, that's a good question. I'd say, I've built up 16 in my personal savings because it seems like anywhere from 6 months to a year's worth of living expenses.
The reason you've been able to run this business is because you kept your personal expenses in check.
Right.
Just want to say that. You've done a really good job. I can tell by the way you keep track of the finances, everything. Like that's why you've been able to deal with the lower rate. Like usually when I see $45, $50 effective hourly rate, I'm like, this company will lose money hand over fist. But you've been so frugal on your personal side, and I can tell how much you're taking out of the business. That's why you've been able to keep growing it.
Right.
And so like, kudos to you.
The reason he has so much cash is because he's only taking minimal amount of owner's draw, and that's why him and his wife, girlfriend, they can't afford to have a kid.
You'll need to take more money in the business to have the family. And so like, okay, so right now we have 16,000 in the bank. By end of year, what does that need to be to like move that forward?
Yeah, I mean, I've lived off 25K for like every year I can remember since college, essentially. Yeah. Doing that comfortably once we have a kid in the mix, I would say probably closer to 40 or 50 would be.
Let's go with 50. That's still pretty good.
Yeah. Well, if you're making $60,000 a month in revenue, ideally I'd like it more around $60,000. And so they're in their 30s, they want to have kids, but they can't afford it. We need to make some more money. And as we know, money solves everything. So if we get more money, we can have a family.
So, okay, so from a liquidity perspective, we need to have, let's just call it $3,000 more a month that we can take out of the business.
Yep.
Because right now, if we're living off of 25, we need to be able to immediately, basically 50K distributions / salary coming out of the business annually. That's like goal number one. So if we let's just say we take 100 customers. No, we're gonna hit 150 because that's gonna be our capacity.
Right.
We take 150 customers and we raise all of their prices by $50 a month. That's about a 25% increase probably. That is literally $7,000. That's why like we can nickel and dime and think about batteries and all this other stuff. I don't care. I wanna hit 150 customers, I wanna raise prices and be making an extra $6,000 to $7,000 of cash flow a month. That immediately solves the liquidity problem.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good goal. 150 weekly customers through our main season, and then that'll allow us to really be much more discretionary about who we actually do work for when those rush seasons come about, and we're not gonna feel as desperate to take, the lower bid or negotiate with them at all.
We got liquidity. Basically, we need to get to $50,000 take-home pay. We know that's gonna be done through price increases. The price increase is going to happen at 150 customers. So then really the whole game here is how do you get 50 more customers? If you got 50 more customers, we hit capacity and we have to raise prices.
He's probably gonna fix 90% of his problem by just raising his prices. If you're only charging $50 an hour, you're not gonna make money. If you're paying W-2s, you're paying taxes, you're above board, you're not hiring illegals, you gotta be charging more than $50 an hour. Especially if you're buying trucks for $75,000. And then the mowers, like the thing that he's running up against right now with his mowers is he can't use residential equipment anymore because it's starting to break. So he's gonna have to buy commercial electric equipment. Commercial zero turns that are electric are $20,000 to $30,000 minimum. Plus all the batteries, plus all the charging, like it's not cheap.
It seems really enticing to want to grow like an $800,000 business just in Northampton. I think it is possible. I just don't know whether that's where I want to focus all of my marketing efforts this year, right? Is it better to have a higher customer value spread out among multiple towns, or a lower, customer lifetime value all in one town and just keep taking mowing only, maybe spring cleanup here, fall cleanup there?
Expanding your service area is always gonna increase the amount of customers you can have. It's the fastest way to grow because you just simply increase the amount of surface area of people that could potentially use your services. Right. The challenging part, I think, is by saying, hey, we have to tap into people who care about electric, that all of a sudden just cut our market by like 90%, because most people don't care. My thought is we use the electric part, and if that's something that means a lot to you and you think there are a portion of people that care, but can we make it efficient enough to where anyone that needs lawn care service, anyone that needs landscaping, we can still serve them and be profitable on them and be competitive? Because like most customers, 90% of them don't care about the electric thing. They literally just looking at the price. And if it's a little quieter, cool, but they could care less. And so if we can become competitive in that market, we can 10x the market that we can serve here. Right. And if you're building a $600,000 business in this market, I look at like the lead side, like your website and other things that I see, we can double it easily. easily. So like I think going into a different market is always the simplest solution because yes, you will immediately unlock that 10% that cares about electric and you don't have any competition. So like you will get those customers. And so it seems then intuitive, like we'll go to the next city and all of a sudden you have this massive service area. Driving 35 minutes from here saps all your electric stuff. Now you got stuff so far away, it becomes even more, you have to invest more in batteries because you can't afford them to come back here. I would really say like based upon what I've seen on the marketing side, if you just focus on this area, you can easily get to like $1 million, $1.2 million. It's just a matter, it's a function of can we get more efficient so we can actually serve a market that doesn't care about electric, just needs the lawn care side. That's 100% of the market versus maybe 10%. I think that's what I would be focusing on because as soon as you get into a wider service area, you're less efficient now. So I would really encourage you to stay in the current area. So then from a leads perspective, we need more leads. Okay, how are we gonna do that? First off, when I look at the website, we're on the second page of Google, we only have 15 Google reviews. There's so much opportunity there. Just putting your estimate request form on the front of the page above the fold, that alone will get you 30, 40% more leads. So like those are the things that like, when I look at the leads opportunity, like I see these hires, the thing is, if we can get dumped leads, like if tomorrow you were getting like 10, 15 leads a day, you would end up forcing yourself to raise prices.
Right.
Because right now, like the real problem is the fact that we have such a low hourly rate, right? Like we're just not making enough per hour. Therefore, we can't pay our guys enough on P4P to keep them sticking around. So we go back to hourly rate simply because 40% on a low margin service is still not enough for them. Like if we could pay everyone $28, $29 an hour, we would keep a better crew. But we can't afford to do that because the margin, like our prices are too low. We're too inefficient. And so the only way for me to convince you to raise that to where you're actually making the $80 to $100 per hour is just dump leads on you. And that's where I actually see the opportunity. And that's why you're wanting to go in a different market. Because like, I need more leads.
Right.
I agree with you. Like in the world of leads just being dumped on you, you raise prices, you can be able to pay your employees more, you buy the extra mower, whatever you need. And so I actually see this as a lead problem. And you know I rarely actually say that. Like usually I'm like efficiency, like let's nail this thing down, let's get cut P4P, all this other stuff. It's very rare to say, hey, we just need tons and tons of leads. And that's why I say going to another market is so attractive to you because you know immediately you unlock leads. But when I look at what you currently have with the website, the current operations, like what you can do with the marketing, we're not tapping into it. It's very rare that I would ever say that leads the actual constraint to the business, but in reality, it's the pricing. But the fact is, if right now he raised his pricing, he believes he's losing too many customers, and therefore I don't think he'll actually raise his pricing. I generally believe if he raised his pricing by 25% right now, he wouldn't lose a lot of customers. However, he needs to be able to grow the business to capacity and then be forced to raise prices so he can lose some customers.
I mean, I wanted to call around and see about someone on Upwork helping me get the SEO dialed in. I mean, I have the option of putting 36 Lawrence Plain Road in Hadley as a official address. We could ask the landlord about that on Google. Should I do that, you think?
Well, having any address on Google is gonna be positive because at least you show up on the map. And right now with Google listing integrated directly now with maps, like you want an address. You're showing up on the second page, but you are showing up first on Google listing. And that's because no one around here has Google reviews. You have 15 and it's like the most. If you can get above 30 at least in terms of reviews, that'll help. If you can also get an address verified on the map, even better. Now, ideally it is in Northampton. If I'm looking at a map, like are we 3-4 miles from the center of your kind of like service area?
About probably closer to 10.
No, I mean your shop space, sorry.
Oh, my shop space? Yeah, my shop space is a little closer.
Yeah, then verify that one. Use that one as a verification. It's already a commercial address, so it'll be easier to verify.
Right.
If you just have that verified and you get 30 Google reviews, just that alone will probably put you in the first page of Google. And so like that alone, just that one move will get you 20% more leads, I'd say. Just like on the second page of Google, everything dies. Like no one cares. You have about 5 competitors above you from an organic search. None of them have Google listing. Like none of them are taking Google reviews seriously. Inside Service Autopilot, if you can just simply make it an automation based upon when you complete a job, it's sending them an automated.
I have that. Yeah, I mean, it's going out with the invoice. I don't know if that's a mistake. It should be a separate email.
Well, then what you can do is just have it where it's like every 90 days or 120 days, you send a review request to customers. Now, instead of asking for a review, what you want to do is you want to say, was your service satisfactory? And then if they click yes, it goes to Google. If they click no, it goes to a Google form and sends information to you. And then what I would say is inside that, tell them that if they leave a review for your crew, that they get a $50 bonus because then they're much more inclined to leave a review. Yeah. Especially, so I like to do is for recurring service, I like to go was your property status, was the service satisfactory? Yes or no? More of a survey based. And if they say yes, it's going to Google. If they say no, it's going to a Google form to keep that internal information. For one-time projects, I would change that one. So the reason you're getting very few reviews on that is people typically don't care about your business, but they do care about the guys who showed up to their property and did the work. And so you say, hey, Mr. Jones, Billy, Bob, Joe, and whatever was at your property. They love doing the service. If you leave us a review, they get a $50 bonus. If you do that, you'll get way more from the one-time jobs. Because now the customer cares about the people who showed up to their property. They really could care less about Eco Valley. Like
that's what I found. I mean, when I was doing, I still know every customer on a first name basis nearly, but it's true. As we start getting more and more folks, doing the service and I'm not there, they're getting to know my folks and I'm making sure they're gregarious, outgoing, knowledgeable, and can take the, the place of as the face of the business. And that's really, people care more about that than, the business itself.
Like if you even wanted to get 20 reviews in a week, this is what I would do. I would put a picture of your team. I would say, we're getting ready for the spring season. This is our team. If you've done service with us in the past and our work was quality, let us know, leave us a review. And for every review that we get, we're gonna put $50 towards a party for our team, or whatever. We're gonna go offsite, do a meeting, do it all around the team though. They don't care about your business, they care about the team. Especially because you know all their names, they know your employees' names, they like Bob last year because he installed the mulch. Focus on that side and you'll get 15 to 20 pretty quickly. And then just set up the automation to that it's every 3 months, every 4 months is collecting reviews organically all the time. So then from a leads perspective, web design, and if you want us to do it, I'll do 6 months, I'll cover it for you just so you can get a really good look at what it's gonna look like and then you'll make an accurate assessment and you can copy it on Wix, I could care less. But ultimately, from the web design perspective, we are where the estimate request form is going, above the fold on the homepage.
Yep.
We're gonna put that truck right front and center when you look at that site. You have the $75,000 used.
Yeah.
Ideally, we have a video, if you can get a drone shot of it or something cool like that, use it.
Yeah.
It'll look so good. It'll completely take the website to the next level. If you
a
can take
pen.
conversion from 1 to 50 to 1 out of 25, you doubled your leads. So estimate request form, website design, okay, we need 30 Google reviews. How are we gonna do that? We're gonna do automations inside Service Outline. And those automations are gonna go twofold. One is gonna go to immediately existing customers.
Yep.
And say, hey, this is our team, we really appreciate your service.
That's a great idea.
Get a Google review, money going towards a spring party for them. Then we're gonna have 2 different automations. One is every 30 to 90 days, every 90 to 120 days, you're sent to existing recurring customers. And it's like, was your service satisfactory? Yes or no? Yes, going to Google review, no, going to a Google form. And then when you send an invoice out to one-time jobs, also automation will be going, saying, hey, if your service was satisfactory, give us a review and your crew will get $50 bonus.
I got that all listed out here, that's great. I think doubling down on our current market of Northampton that has treated us so well up until now, that Mike has given the go-ahead on that, is the best strategy to put our dollars in all of our efforts. Is going to be huge, right? And then dialing in and spending as much money or time as I need to get the SEO and website side of things, figured out once and for all, so I can kind of cut down on my marketing costs moving forward. I think will be huge for this next year to get us, past that 500K point of no return. I want to show you the rest of this property just to get your 2 cents on really how much investment is this worth over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years with the zoning issue of do I ask permission or, for forgiveness, right? 2 properties, what would you do in my shoes and what do you think the best step is trying to, is the business at a place where I think it can sustain that and start branching out into 2 locations under one roof with me as still managing everything, as long as I can get some ops managers who are going to be coming back for next year and then be able to have people leaving from here with a trustworthy crew and not have to be in 2 places at one time. We want to make this essentially the business side of thing hidden behind the garage, and then everything to the left of the garage pleasure, right? But that's where the bulk of the land is, but it's way too wooded to really be worth anything right now. This is the only place I can see us parking anything. It's gonna take a good bit of excavation to really get this flat and then a good bit of bulk materials. I think you could get away with running a decent sized business here and putting up even more of a privacy hedge along here so that way no one at all bats an eye. Do I think it would be smart to do an 800K business with 6 to 8 trucks? I don't know.
Well, they're not going to report you. They're not going to report you. There's nothing over there.
Yeah, and our nearest neighbor to the back is about a 1/4 mile.
Yeah,
So
I'd do it.
yeah.
As long as you don't have to invest a bunch. The problem is you're gonna have to do all these stump grinding.
It'd be nice to eventually have an excavator and a skid steer on this property. And I know some folks that lent me those, you know, for free or for cheap. So there's ways to figure this out for not a lot of money.
Yeah, like I would try to get one location in profit mode with higher prices, well above 500,000 before I start, breaking it apart. Also, from a leadership perspective, no one to be able to like start team meetings at the other spot, anything like that. What's nice is like as you hire this year, you can say, hey, this is on the horizon the next few years what we want to do, and then potentially you get someone that's a little early, and then you can kind of foster them into that role. But I would not be pushing for that, especially like the fact that right now you're only splitting the 2 locations because you can charge the truck here. Like you're driving an extra 15 or 20 minutes now simply to charge the truck. And so like, can we charge that truck there any way, shape or form? Like, can we put an inverter there or anything?
It's not gonna work.
No.
And
So then you would have to bring that truck basically then every day.
Yeah, which is not possible.
How much do you pay for rent at the shop?
$825 right now for about a 70 by 70 gravel pad. It's just a shipping container on a dirt lot of a bigger landscaping company. There's some serious benefits to having a spot like that. He's loading us up with mulch. He's hooking us up with salt any time of night. Any bulk material we need, he's got the loaders for those. We're not having to drive to get them. When we first got there, he said, don't come near my stuff. Like, I don't want you guys anywhere near my equipment. And then I was like, we're gonna have to leave if you can't hook us up with this electric hookup. And he said, yeah, let's do it. He's got a big, massive, 30-person company. So rightfully, he didn't trust us at first, but have gained his trust. I have hired a foreman to be an ops manager in training. I have people who are well fit for those roles who now seem like they'd be committed for at least a year, 2 years, 3 years.
It just starts to feel janky for the employees when like there's 2 different start sites. The one that you currently have over there at the shop space is at a different landscaping company's property.
Yeah.
Here it's your house. It starts to feel janky from an employee's perspective. If you look back here, we have a very, very successful business. There's probably probably 20, 30 trucks. I think he said it's a huge business, probably $10, $15 million. Very successful. It's just a little weird for team members to come back here to the very back and pass all their employees, et cetera. And they have a big office and a bunch of fancy equipment. So you're comparing the two, and there's probably potentially more upside opportunity to start actually working here if you're gonna grow the business with Cyrus. But driving through that every day, difficult to be like, yeah, I'm coming back here. Right. And that's where churn will come in, because they don't feel like it's a real business. And there's no camaraderie, there's no culture, you don't start in the same place every day, they don't see you every day. Right. And that's when you start to get low morale, people leave because they don't see you for 3 or 4 days, they think you're out partying, doing whatever. So that's where I get concerned at the size of business, is splitting is actually from a cultural perspective and retention. When we first got started, we were at a similar spot. We were in a shop space. We were sharing space with a bunch of other contractors, and it was just awkward because they'd offer my guys jobs, they would see their trucks. It was just tough to build a culture that was like, this is ours. And so whether it be your own shop space or whether it be your house or some place where you can keep your team together, I think is valuable. It's hard to put a dollar figure on it, but I know driving past that every day and then having a small business with 3 trucks wherever, this business started like this. And so if there was someone back in the day that started with this company when there's 3 trucks, they probably are now like the foreman or the general manager. So there's a lot of opportunity of starting with a small business. It's disillusioning when you have to share space with a very, very successful business when you're just getting started.
So can we move the whole thing here? I mean, we could, in theory, with enough work, in space.
Well, $800 a month isn't so bad either.
Yeah.
So what you could do is you could probably grow into this. So even if you didn't full scale go in let's build this whole shop site now. We're gonna slowly move into this. But when we hit the 800, a million plus, now all of a sudden $800 a month is not gonna kill you to have a secondary spot. You might have a couple pieces of equipment there. It's closer to your service area. Right. And don't treat it as separate locations, but more or less, hey, this is where we keep maybe the trailers or the landscape stuff. It's closer to our service area. They have the loaders, etc. You can make sense of spending $800 a month to have those type of savings, but I would not split the locations up. It's until you have someone that has been here for a few years, they're your general manager. They're not just here and they're a good worker, but they run team meetings, they do hiring, they do all aspects of the business. I wouldn't split the two. The whole notion of part-time employees and very much a transient employment base happens when it's oh yeah, we kind of start here sometimes, we start over here sometimes. We never really see the owner. There's no real leadership, there's no accountability. They get less efficient throughout the day, they forget stuff throughout the day. It just becomes a mess. So I would really try to keep it centralized. And if that means starting here, fine. 3 trucks, you could start here pretty quickly, right? You just need to park the trucks, then have parking for the employees. You say, hey, you park the You pull the truck out, you park where the truck was at. And then have like $800 a month is not a horrible thing to keep if you can have saving, if you make sense of it financially from a just savings of like, material, parking up there, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Do you need that? If you had this all built out, would you even need that, you think?
I suppose we wouldn't, honestly. But then there's the risk of this not being zoned, and it's like,
right.
Need a fallback.
That's kind of, I know.
It's like a long term, I want to go all in, and we have no other option because this is, now our home, and we have, a mortgage out on it. Theirs already set up, and change is so hard, moving from from that space over to here, like there's a lot of equipment. 40-foot shipping container.
But that's closer to your service area, right?
It is.
Well, you could just have like a scaled down version of all the equipment on the trucks here, and that's like your equipment depot. Right. It's like, hey, if your guys are out throughout the day, or you need more batteries, or you need to go pick up one of the battery luggage things, that's all over there. But then they start here, you have meetings here. Like, this is a good environment, I feel like, for the team versus being in someone else's yard. It's a weird thing for an employee. Like, yeah, I show up here, but yeah, I know it says other landscape all around me. There's a massive company. Like, it's also very appealing for them to just like fail. So like, personally, I think this would be a more controlled environment. You have really nice space for them. You can build this out exactly the way you want it. Organize the shop space. You don't have a competitor around you. I think it's just a weird experience for an employee. They feel very much like second rate. Then labor. So then labor is a matter of like, we gotta have improved retention. And like, I see it as, especially in this market, like if people can make consistently $26, $27 an hour, that'll be very incentivizing. We also want to reduce churn because it is going to demotivate the highest performing employees when they constantly are seeing people churn through. I think that having a unified spot where you're starting throughout the day will be very beneficial because they see you. People make stuff up in their head. You could be slaving away on estimates and they think that you're like probably just vacation. From a labor perspective, our goal is P4P still being high enough, like average 25 plus per hour throughout the whole season. We do that because we are able to raise prices because we have enough leads. And so labor P4P, that's great. Reduce churn. I think that comes in the form of the culture side and having a centralized spot. Every morning have a stand-up meeting. They're able to make sure you get the right tools, get the right equipment. Personally, I would probably try to get this to like where I can get them here as soon as possible. Like if you brought the box over here, for example, for equipment, move some of that into there, made that a space. Like it just, this feels like a shop.
A better vibe, yeah.
Versus I'm showing up and I feel like the little guy in the block because we have 2 trucks and this company has 20. Honestly, from a culture perspective than even an economic one. Like literally, if I was you, like so much of this gets solved with more leads. That's why, like, I don't know if you look at like the turnaround show, but like I hardly have ever said that. Because I know if you get enough leads to get hit capacity, you'll raise prices. And if you raise prices, you'll be able to get better liquidity. You'll be able to pay people more on P4P so they won't leave. It all comes back to raising prices, but I don't think that's fixed now because you're gonna be stuck in this weird limbo spot and you wanna grow. So okay, go ahead and grow, get 50 more customers. That's all that matters. It's like, okay, great, we have 3 months of spring rush. We need to have 1 new customer every single day net. And if we do that by the end of spring rush, we'll be raising prices, and I would raise prices by a minimum of 20%.
During the middle of the season, right?
Yeah.
Even after mowing starts.
We'll hit it, because like, the goal is like we're getting 1, 2, 3 customers a day, and then we're gonna hit it in the middle of May. You're like, sick, I need to raise prices. Raise everyone's prices across the board right then. And you could raise prices now on like the if there's 10, 15 customers you need to increase or whatever, go for it. Especially if but again, like a 5% increase just doesn't do a lot. I wanna get to the point where you want to lose customers.
Yeah. Me too. Yeah, it's a good point to be. As much as I love them all.
Yeah, cool.
Some folks have been with us 5 years. You have the emotional connection. You know their financial situation, and you're not going to kick them to the curb. But the newer folks that say, "Oh, we're getting multiple bids. Can you come down? This and that," and then we can say, "Sorry, see you later." We want to pay our guys a living wage, and it's hard to get everybody to realize what it costs to run a business unless they're a business owner themselves.
The number one way to raise your prices is get so many customers that you need to lose some just to be able to keep taking on new customers. And so instead of trying to force his hand on price increases, I'm just like, go get more leads by fixing your website, fixing your Google, fixing your SEO. And by doing that, then you'll be forced to raise prices because you won't have enough capacity. You won't be able to serve new customers.
We had to let one person go, and then one person's been out due to a family matter for about 2 weeks. So it's really been full bore. So there's some silver lining in that, being that I think we were pretty overstaffed. We're only booked out with our current team, around 2 weeks right now. I'd like that to be closer to 4 to 6. We got all of our regulars taken care of and quoted, and our close ratio is about 55% after like a 25%, 30% price raise on most folks. So I definitely don't regret doing that. It's been a battle for sure, but I raised prices 25, 30%, and, that's still where we're at. And I'm seeing a lot of folks throw in the towel even with that, saying, we'll do our own one or the other, or we'll do everything ourselves except mowing this year based on the economic outlook. So that's just what it is. But I feel like my close ratio is a bit lower than I'm used to, which I'm happy about now versus before when it was closer to, I was shooting for like 60, 70, sometimes even 80, and just felt like the more work, the merrier. I'll hire my way out of it, and, not being able to really get good P for P as a result. So for all the existing customers, we did either a $5 or a $10 pretty much across the board, with a few exceptions from folks that are like in really high density one-stop shop neighborhoods that were already seemingly priced right, and we got not a lot of kickback due to the price raise, for sure. As I said, I think we've had I have like 5 or 6 discontinues, and then twice as many new customers. So yeah, I think that's our mowing. We could certainly stand to go a bit higher, but at the same time, until I figure out exactly how busy we're going to be with the current customer base we have, and realizing that it's not the end of the world, or completely out of line to raise prices mid-season, even when you're at capacity or feel like you're not hitting budgeted hours. That's something that I thought just nobody does, until speaking with Mike and listening and hearing about that. I still think I might get some more drop off from that, people getting their price raised twice in 1 year in a short period of time. But then again, once we start and we're doing a good job, there might be that stickiness there already. I think for the most part, everybody's happy. We've been wildly fluctuating in the P for P, take home pay. Some days are just banner, 150%, 30, 40, $50 a day. And then other days it's like, we might as well throw in the towel and go all have, a crew lunch right now, because there's no way we're getting out of here on time. Ops manager, has really stepped in and taken a huge load off and stepped up to fill some pretty big shoes from the previous ops manager who left. And so she's really able to be boots on the ground and show, everybody what needs to be done in terms of the more complicated pruning work that we do for the spring cleanups, because no two are ever the same, not even for the same customer. There's always something else different that we want to be doing. So that's been awesome. And then I've just been out in the field as much as I can with them, trying to get them, briefed and ready to do service on their own day in and day out. We had one teaser, right after you guys left. A good friend of mine that works for another landscaping company called me with an amazing opportunity for a rental space in our current market in Northampton that had no outbuilding. It was just a gravel lot that was an acre at, $75 cheaper than what I'm renting now. That would have had option to get electricity right to a shipping container. But I waited, a week too long and did my thing and was out in the field and doing quotes and prioritizing that, and someone hopped on it right away by the time that I called the property owner. So it was a day late and $1 short. So I don't know if we dodged a bullet or, squandered a serious opportunity there, but now we can kind of focus on the original plan of getting everything in-house at the new Southampton location that we actually own, and not have to, try and move mid-spring rush, which could have been a complete disaster and thrown us really, off the rails. So we'll be slowly transitioning to the home shop address. Right now, we all been meeting in Hadley still, and that inefficiency is starting to show, from the lightning crew that leaves from the home shop with the extra, hour drive time between unloading and loading up at Hadley. It's nearly impossible for them to be making good P for P dollars until we get the home shop set up to have them leave. So I'm hoping that can happen right around mow season. So they'll just, they'll have all the spring cleanups, and there's too much to go over in the mornings to have the crew separated in the beginning of the season for now. So we're kind of making that work. I bought a second laptop, which was exciting for the business, because they were helping me out with enough quotes that they were doing property inspections and video walkarounds, and then helping me upload all those, in picture format, and getting, those uploaded to the Google Drive. So even just that alone helped me get, to where we were at in terms of closing enough of our current customers that I felt like that purchase was well worth it. So it's getting more official. Yeah, I'm thinking about company phone with all the customers we have and their addresses right in the address book right next to their name, so you can answer in first name basis. People love that, so that's all exciting stuff. Yeah, I've been thinking back about your guys' visit, and I was just so much left that I wanted to ask Mike that I'm, kicking myself for not asking. But they're minor details, in comparison to the grand scheme. I know what we absolutely have to do, and lighting a fire under my my ass, in order to get that done as soon as I really get some time to dig my teeth into those longer form things that I just can't seem to do in between the mix of madness. There's certain tasks that I just don't spend 15 minutes to an hour on. I need like the full day or week to think about, all right, I'm going to get on the website and do some edits because it's been so long since I've been on there.